Hello, I'm Rex Schildhouse, and because things on the internet seem to lose their date reference, today is Tuesday, October 4th, 2022. And being a little bit conservative, a little bit lazy, a little bit active, whatever, this portion of the video is probably going to be used to intro several site visits of our Wish of a Lifetime AARP Ragine trip from San Diego to Bastogne for the Battle of the Bulge battlefields and museums and back. And I owe Wish of a Lifetime and AARP and Ragine a lot for granting this wish. This was probably one of the 5 most emotional events in my life. I'm married, 1 wife, 3 daughters, military career behind me, a lot of other things in my life, and this trip ranks in probably the top 5 most emotional events in my life. So let's get on with it. Thanks for watching.
And the other reason is a religious one, Lutheranism. Everything around the dead should be sad, should be done. All the Germans are. The Germans, what I like, they write the birth date. You see, this guy was born in 27, killed in 44, he was 17. A lot of them here are 16 and 17, because the mobilization in Germany at the end of the war, it was from 16 to 60. They had very young and very old soldiers. Why on your cemeteries, World War II cemeteries on the continent, they write only the day when they have been killed. But it's interesting to know how old they were. I'm figuring I was very offended.
Wish of a Lifetime and AARP provided 2 things that really added significantly to this trip. They didn't just send us to Bastogne and say, tour the museums, have fun, whatever. They provided a guide, Henri, super individual. He was 9 years old during the Battle of the Bulge. He and his family lived just outside the encirclement. He remembers the airplanes coming overhead before, during, and after the Battle of the Bulge. World War II, Belgium was a pathway to Germany for the Air Force, for the Army Air Corps. Very well-informed individual. I left the video in here so you could see him talk. We're in the German cemetery, and the other individual they provided was Henri, and he was the photographer. Very good guy. Lived in Mesa, Arizona for I think a year and a half, getting his Bachelor of Science degree. These were 2 elements that unplanned, planned, they were part of the itinerary, but their role in making this wish something incomputable, adding so much to it, was really critical. And I have to say thanks to both Henri, Wish of a Lifetime, AARP, and Ragine for having these 2 individuals involved in our wish. It added so much more. We're going to tour the Battle of the Bulge battlefield with Henri, and as the guide, very proficient individual, added a lot to it. And Henri, the photographer, who was super. The day we toured the battlefield, this photo shows you some of the stuff that we were in. It was kind of appropriate. It was a great overcast day. It rained a fair amount of the day. You'll see us. You'll see water, whatever. It was fairly cool, not cold. My dad would say that this was the coldest he'd ever been in his life, and with 2 years of duty in Alaska and on the Aleutians, in particular fighting in the Battle of Midway across the Aleutian Islands, to say that Bastogne was the coldest he'd ever been in his life was something else. It could have been quote-unquote more appropriate. if it was 20 degrees below zero, blowing wind and snow, whatever else, it wasn't. We were lucky. And this picture, a bit blurred, sorry, Henri tells us this is actually representative. If you would convert this paved road, or this road, into a horse path, this would be representative of a fair amount of the roads that were in the area during the Battle of the Bulge. Where we're going is actually into no man's land at the end of this photo. And this is another one of the paths that is representative of the area and gives you an idea of the diversity of the battlefield. If you're going to run heavy tanks, trucks, vehicles down this road, remember that it's winter. It's wet, there's snow, there's ice. The tracks, the tires are going to melt this stuff, turn this road into slop, and slow any advance down. And it's going both ways. The Allies have problems moving equipment to the defensive positions. The Germans have problems moving equipment to offensive positions. So neither one of us is at an advantage. This is one of the numerous emotional points of the tour, and it has me emotional right now. This is no man's land, and in a ceremony several years ago, I'm going to say 25, I'm not sure when it was, how old are these trees, a number of GIs came back for a ceremony hosted by the Belgian Bastogne citizens, and they honored them. This is no man's land. There were Allies on one side, 101st Airborne primarily, and Germans on the other side, and anybody who tried to cross this field pretty much died. Hence no man's land. What they did was they planted trees for each GI that returned, and they gave them, put a plaque in front of their tree. And then people are coming back like we were. We weren't coming back, we were coming for the first time, and honoring people that have their plaques here. This was pretty emotional. This is a town that's not forgetting what happened, and respectful of what happened. And there's a number of different ways that the people were honored that came to the ceremony, that fought in Bastogne, are honored. Around no man's land, in this circle that Bastogne has made, I'm going to call this park, they've got these plaques, and these plaques cover numerous subject matters, and they're all trilingual, French, German, and English, which makes them nice. Right now it's not raining. It would be raining towards a later part of our tour, circling no man's land. And what I've done is I have carved the English portion of these plaques. As we scroll through them, you can obviously stop and read it. They cover major battles, major incidents, not only of World War II, but of the world. So I kind of maybe focused on World War II, St. Lo, St. Mary-Église, and then we step off to, if I can find it, to Kiev, Ukraine. Thought that was interesting. If you want to read some interesting stuff about the Ukraine. Stalin was Ukrainian, he wasn't Russian, and his real name isn't Stalin. Stalin's man of steel in Russian. Throughout the area, there's monuments, memorials, honorarium, displays for the Allies, in particular the 101st Airborne Division, and this was one of them. And Henri was explaining how explaining to us about this plaque in particular, this memorial in particular, and you get the appreciation, you understand that the town of Bastogne has not forgotten the Allies that defended it, and it kind of makes me, it really makes me feel good. Let's move on. What they have decided to do, in the back of this photo you'll see a fence. On the other side of that fence is a paved road. At the time of the Battle of the Bulge, that was literally a horse path, unpaved horse path, and this was a major conflict line of the Battle of the Bulge for Easy Company, which Steve Ambrose would use for his Band of Brothers book and the ensuing movie. The foxholes, the town has decided that they are not going to interfere with them. They're not going to preserve them. They're not going to fill them in. They're going to let nature recover them. And we've got a couple of pictures of foxholes. There were numerous foxholes along this line. Some of the trees have grown back, some of them haven't. The town has just decided they're going to let nature have its way here, which is kind of nice. This area here, this photo looking across this field, was actually used in the movie The Band of Brothers, and that is the town of Foy, as I understand it, remember it, in the background, in the distance, covered up by the fact that it was light rain at the time, low clouds, fog, whatever else. This was not actually a major battle area, conflict area. They did have skirmishes across this area, but it was used in the Band of Brothers because of its view. So just one of those trivial things. Yes, fighting did occur here, but it wasn't a major event. We step off to the German German cemetery. Henri is off on the right hand side. Bad photography on my point because I cut his head off. Sorry about that. He's explaining that this battlefield is the burial site for Germans from the age of 16 to 60. And the Germans that are buried here are not just Army, they're Navy and Luftwaffe. Anybody who could come and serve, 16 to 60, ended up in this battlefield. And as you saw in the video, some of the people that are buried in this video arrived at the battlefield the day before they died. Not good. Also, in German tradition, they are buried 3 individuals to a headstone. I believe they're side by side, and this is Germanic tradition. It's not disrespect. The town of Bastogne decided that because this was not a cheerful or joyful place, their headstones would be gray granite, whereas the American cemetery is white. This is inside the shrine at the German cemetery. My photo for the exterior of this building didn't come out. Sorry about that. People do come and honor the dead that are buried here, and there is some great masonry work in this building. This is the dome building, the dome ceiling of the shrine. It took a lot of work that we are sure of. We moved off to the point that the first tank from Patton's 3rd Armored penetrated the encirclement, and this is the site of that. And if you look in the background where that number 1, number 2 on the right side, and then in the background number 1, number 2, number 3, these are triangular monuments, and we're going to look at them, and they contain information about the units that came through here. And this is what they look like, as in a lot of the other materials in here. French, English, German, French, English, German, whatever, for languages. And I have cut them up into smaller pieces so you can read what was on the individual plaques. Unfortunately, it was raining. Where the blots are on this, where the bad printing is, part of it's because I had water on the lens of my camera, and I guess that's most of it. What it talks about is the progression into the battlefield. It was very informative to realize that this was where relief came to the encirclement. Was a bit emotional. And then we popped up on this one here, number 4, Alsace-Lorraine, France. And one of the few documents we have from my dad's service time in the U.S. Army, 1940 or 41 to 1945. This is where he was awarded a Purple Heart for another injury. And then the Ardennes, which is where we're at, the Ardennes Forest, a large region, Bastogne in the middle of it, actually covers several countries, has containment in several countries. This pillbox, or observation post, was taken under fire, and the 2 rounds that you can see to the right of that grate, one near the top, one near the bottom, were tank rounds. And when the pillbox was hit by the tank that came through, which we saw earlier, these guys decided the war wasn't worth it, and they gave up. They blanked out. And this was set up in the area, and a plaque documenting what this was for. This actual tank turret was between our hotel and the Bastogne War Museum. Henri took us over there again. We got another photo of it. So it is on the battlefield, it is in a conflict area, and talking about it. And we kind of ended the tour with Henri and Ari by going over to the General George S. Patton Memorial, which is in town about 2 blocks from our hotel, and numerous plaques around there. And as you can see, the skies are still overcast, still kind of gloomy. The area is wet. It's been raining off and on all day. It wasn't real cold. It was cool. It wasn't a cold rain, but it was more than appropriate that the day turned out like it is. And this was just a very emotional tour to see where people lived and died, and history was determined, and the logic of the conflict. And the town of Bastogne is not forgetting what was done for them by the Allies, by the 101st Airborne Division, and it kind of makes you feel good. Thanks for watching. The next one is going to be the 101st Airborne Division Museum, which was right around the street, right around the corner from our hotel. Another very emotional trip. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.